Hey guys, how's it going? So in today's video, I want to talk about the steps that you can take to become a full-time blockchain developer. Now, of course, there are many paths that one might take in order to accomplish this, but today I'd like to lay out the specific steps that I took along my personal journey because I think they ended up being pretty effective and that they landed me a full-time job working as a blockchain developer after just a few months. And I'm 100% confident that the same steps would work for you too, or for anyone else who wants to work in blockchain. So if that sounds good, stick around and let's dive into it. Alright guys, so first off I just want to make one distinction, and that's between the two terms blockchain developer and blockchain engineer. So from my experience, a blockchain developer usually refers to someone who works on building apps, tokens, or games on top of an existing blockchain, such as Ethereum, while blockchain engineer often refers to somebody who works on building the blockchain itself, the actual infrastructure of a blockchain. So this video is more focused on blockchain developers because that's what I do, that's what I've done in my personal experience. However, a lot of what I'm going to be saying could also apply to blockchain engineers as well. Your journey to becoming a blockchain developer might differ slightly depending on your background. Some of you may be coming from years of development and engineering experience, and some of you may have no programming experience at all, and so you'll need to learn some development fundamentals first. But no matter where you're coming from, this is definitely doable either way. In my case, I personally went from becoming a full-stack, more traditional JavaScript developer, working on React.js and Node.js applications, to a developer that specializes in blockchain, working on smart contracts and decentralized apps. So first, we'll talk about first steps for a complete beginner, and then we'll go on to the next steps from there. So if you're a complete beginner and starting with no experience at all, I would say that the first step would be to get some general programming and web development experience under your belt. I would suggest first learning HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. These are sort of the three pillars of web development. HTML defines the structure of a web page, CSS makes it look nice, and JavaScript adds behavior and functionality. After that, I'd maybe learn to build some basic web pages just using HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. And once you can do that, try your hand at building an entire web application. It could be a simple one, using the React.js framework. So React.js is the most popular web application framework to date that's based on JavaScript. This should give you a solid foundation on which to build some blockchain and Web3 skills. When I first started out, I learned HTML and CSS from a book I bought off Amazon, and then just started to build some simple websites and web projects using my new knowledge and referencing the books when I needed to. Online courses are also a great source of information. I suggest looking on Udemy, Coursera, and Udacity for beginner web development courses, or you can also search for individual courses on HTML, CSS, JavaScript, or React. There are also tons of great free courses available on YouTube. I highly recommend Brad Traversy of Traversy Media. He has great courses on a wide variety of web development topics. In particular, he has great beginner crash courses on HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, so definitely check those out. On the other hand, if you have experience with web development or application development and are comfortable with HTML, CSS, JavaScript, and maybe React and Node, or at least one other programming language, then the transition to learning blockchain is not going to be that difficult at all, and you've already got a great head start. The thing is, your traditional web development skills like React, Node, JavaScript, HTML, and CSS are still super relevant for blockchain development. Decentralized apps still need front ends to interact with smart contracts. And so as a blockchain dev, you might spend, say, 30% of your time writing smart contracts and the other 70% of your time writing front-end applications to communicate with them via JavaScript libraries such as Web3 or Ethers. So in my case, I already had a background in programming and experience as a full-stack developer, so I pivoted directly towards learning blockchain technologies. And so here's where I want to share the exact steps that I took in my transition from a more traditional full-stack developer to a blockchain developer. So step one, first, I read a bunch of books and took some online courses. We'll start with the books. There's lots of good ones out there, but here are two that I would recommend in particular. Number one, Mastering Bitcoin Number 2, Mastering Ethereum. They're both authored by Andreas Antonopoulos, and these 2 books are probably the best treatment of core blockchain technologies out there. They cover topics such as cryptography and its uses in blockchain technology, consensus algorithms and the double spend problem, hashing algorithms, private keys, public key and wallet address generation, wallets, wallet types, transactions, security, tokens, smart contracts, and decentralized applications. I really consider these books must-reads for anybody getting into blockchain development. All right, so next let's talk about online courses. Now, obviously, there are tons of courses out there, many different platforms that provide learning solutions, but I just wanted to share sort of the top 3 courses that I took that I really liked the teaching style, the presentation, the content, and that I really learned a lot from. All right, so the first one was the Professional Certificate in Blockchain Fundamentals by the University of California at Berkeley. And I'll add a link to all these courses in the description of this video if you want to go check them out. This one, I guess it cost about $200, give or take, depending on whether they're running a sale or not. This is focused on blockchain architecture, in particular from the standpoint of Bitcoin, because Bitcoin was sort of the first blockchain and arguably the gold standard bearer for blockchain architecture, even today. So this one goes into great detail about cryptography, public and private keys, consensus algorithm, things like that. So it's there's a lot of overlap between this course and the Mastering Bitcoin book, but some overlap is good because some of these concepts, at least for me, took a couple of times through to really wrap my head around them. So I definitely don't mind the double or triple exposure there. So it's self-paced. You can come online and continue whenever you want for however long you want. It says here 3 months at 3 to 5 hours per week. I think I completed this whole course in 1 week. So you can do it as quickly or take as long as you want. It consists of 2 courses. So the whole thing is a certificate course. You get a certificate at the end that you can print out and frame if you want or do whatever you want with it. But basically it's divided into 2 courses, Bitcoin and cryptocurrency and blockchain technology. So again, it's mostly Bitcoin focused, but they do go over Ethereum and decentralized apps and some other things. So this is a really solid course and goes into great detail. It's not really project-based, it's more of lecture-based, so but I think you'll enjoy it, so definitely check this one out. All right, the next one that I want to talk about was a Udemy course called Ethereum and Solidity, the Complete Developer's Guide. I really love this course. It's created by Stephen Grider, who's a developer, I believe, based on the West Coast. He's got a great teaching style, great presentation, really thoroughly went over, the basics of Solidity and how to write smart contracts. The way the course is sort of structured is that there's some lectures, but you do like 3 or 4 mini projects or mini smart contracts, and you code the smart contracts and you do the front end as well. He goes over deployment and a lot of great details. So definitely recommend this one. And as you can see, it's not too expensive either. So definitely grab it at this price while you can. This is another really, really great one. So finally, this last one is not a course per se, but it is a certified Bitcoin professional certificate from a nonprofit organization called the Cryptocurrency Certification Consortium, otherwise known as C4. And this is a test, and you have to get 70% or higher in order to pass. I don't remember exactly how many questions. Oh, here we go. 75 multiple choice questions. It's time limited to 20 minutes, so it doesn't take long. Now, there are individual courses out there that will prepare you for this test. So you could do that if you want. Personally, I didn't do that. I found that just reading the Mastering Bitcoin book was enough to pass this test. So if you want to read that book, if you want to take the Berkley course, that'll help as well. Or, they've got other courses that are specifically geared towards passing this test. So you could do any of the above. And this is just a great thing to have on your resume. It costs $99. You have to pay it in cryptocurrency, such as Bitcoin. I think I paid in Bitcoin. And then another $40 or so to get your application certified, which I believe this is what you have to do to actually get the certificate. So anyway, this is just something that looks really good on your resume. It's really good to have. So definitely recommend doing this just because it doesn't take that much preparation. It's not too expensive. Why not do it? It looks professional, looks good on your resume. So definitely recommend any and all of these 3 courses. They really help me out a lot. All right, so once you've read some books and taken some courses and gotten some theoretical knowledge under your belt, the next step I definitely recommend is just jumping in and getting some hands-on experience building some blockchain projects of your own. So there's definitely no better way to learn than to just get right in there and get your hands dirty. So I want to share with you 2 projects, the first 2 projects that I did once I took some courses and got some basic knowledge. I went out there and I tried to build a couple of things. The first thing I attempted was an ERC20 token, which ERC20 is a standard for coding tokens on Ethereum, cryptocurrency on Ethereum. And the next project I did was an NFT token, or an NFT smart contract, which I did using the ERC 721 standard. So I'll show you the little web interface I made. Here's my ERC20 token. You can see it's a meme token. I call it ICHC token for short. And this is available to trade on Uniswap. And there's a faucet application for it. And if you've never heard of a faucet application, basically it's a program that just gives you tokens. So if you want to just give away tokens to promote your token or your project, there's a way to do that using smart contracts. And also this contract, we can see that it's live on the Ethereum blockchain by checking it on Etherscan. And this link just leads us to the contract address. So we can see the contract address, the max total supply, and a bunch of data from the transactions down below. So anyway, this was a real fun project to do. I sort of went through the motions of figuring out how to, first of all, build the smart contract, how to deploy it to the test networks, how to write unit tests for it and test it with my wallet. And then finally, this was my first experience deploying something to mainnet Ethereum. So great overall experience. I definitely learned a lot along the way. So I definitely recommend you guys to create a ERC20 token or a ERC 721 as your first project. So I'll show you the NFT token, the ERC 721. This is a collection I called Crypto Beetles. My daughter was really into beetles over Christmas break, so that's where I got the idea from. I didn't put too much thought into the art or anything like that. I just wanted to really see if I could create an NFT and deploy it to Ethereum. So really that was my main goal here. So I did that, and the collection's available on OpenSea, which is an NFT marketplace. And so I, again, went through the process of learning how to code the smart contract, deploy it to testnet, test it out, and finally list it for sale on OpenSea. And by the way, I just recently released a video on how to do the same on my YouTube channel, so you guys could check that out if you're interested. And in fact, I think the next video I'm going to make is going to be how to create a cryptocurrency, how to create a ERC20 token and deploy to Ethereum. So look out for those, and if you want some help with your projects. Also, another great resource that I couldn't have done these projects without is the OpenZeppelin library. So I wanted to show you this really quick. OpenZeppelin, basically, they provide boilerplate code for a lot of the different token standards. And there's a lot of great documentation and a great community, great developer community where you can sort of ask questions and get answers on the forum. They're very active there. So I'll just sort of show you. They have some ERC20 boilerplate code, which you can import these libraries in your code and use them. I want to show you the ERC20 first. Yeah, so there's example code. Here's a basic implementation for a cryptocurrency. And then the 777 is another cryptocurrency token that supposedly has some improvements over ERC20. And then you have the ERC 721, which is a standard for NFTs. So yeah, in a lot of cases, you can import these libraries and use their boilerplate code to give you a head start on your personal projects. And then they can be extended to meet the specific needs of your project as well. Now, beyond just helping you learn blockchain, these projects can be really useful in interviewing for blockchain jobs. And the reason I say that is because let's say you're interviewing for a blockchain job, but you have no past experience as a blockchain developer. Doing some projects on your own can give you something to talk about during the interview and also give you an opportunity to convince whoever you're interviewing with that you know your stuff, that you know what you're talking about, despite the fact that you may not have a lot of experience, time-wise. So I think it's really important, it's hard to get your foot in the door if you don't have previous experience, but doing these sort of projects can give you some kind of experience to talk about. Now, if the employer is looking for somebody with 5 years of Solidity experience, it might not be enough to sort of bridge that gap, but however, a lot of companies really do understand that this is new technology, and there are a lot of people in your shoes who have a good background in development, in programming, but just don't have a lot of blockchain experience. And so in that case, it's really important to impart some sort of passion and desire to learn to your prospective employer. If you don't have the experience to back it up, that can sort of substitute that, and along with some of your personal projects that you have to talk about, that can go a long way in substituting for experience in terms of length of years or time. So the other thing that you have going for you is that this industry is just blossoming and booming very quickly. And so demand is super high. There's all sort of startups cropping up and even larger, more traditional companies wanting to move into the blockchain space. So the demand is just sky high, and there aren't enough developers out there with blockchain expertise to meet that demand, which means the hiring bar might be a little bit lower than it normally would be. So there's definitely opportunities out there, long story short. So the more projects that you have done, the more courses you have under your belt, the better you're going to be able to talk to people, especially prospective employers, about blockchain and sort of stand out. All right, so next I just kind of want to summarize and list out the bare minimum list of skills that you will need, the most essential skills that you'll need to become a full-time blockchain developer. So number one, I'm going to group these three together: HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. So these three, as I said before, the three pillars, these will form the core of your skill set as not only a blockchain developer, but a web developer in general. And these will be the foundation upon which everything else is built. So to add to that, next I'll say React.js. So React has been and continues to be sort of the most widely used framework for front-end development out there, and you'll likely be using it for many of your DApp projects. All right, next up, the Web3 library and the ethers.js library. Now these are two separate libraries that both sort of serve the same purpose, and they constitute the glue between your front-end UI and your smart contracts on the blockchain. In other words, they allow your front-end code to call or interact with smart contracts on the blockchain. They're sort of the adapter layer in between. So I've used both Web3 and Ethers on separate projects, and I can't really say I have an opinion as to which one is better than the other. To me, they're both very similar. Maybe I just haven't really formed an opinion yet, but I find them both pretty easy to use and really well documented. So I definitely recommend using them or learning them both. All right, next up, Solidity. Now, Solidity is the most popular or widely used at this point programming language for developing smart contracts. Now, smart contracts can be developed in a wide array of other languages as well, but Solidity was specifically invented for use in smart contracts and was actually created by one of the core contributors to the Ethereum project. So it's a great language. It's easy to learn if you know JavaScript or any of the C-style languages or Java or Python or anything like that. It's very similar in syntax, and I think you'll be able to pick it up with just a little bit of practice. All right, next up, Remix. Now, Remix is an online IDE for developing smart contracts. It allows you to deploy them either to virtual in-memory JavaScript blockchain or to actual blockchains, for example, Ethereum testnet, and mainnet. One of the great things about Remix is that it provides a UI that easily allows you to invoke methods on your smart contracts once deployed through a sort of intuitive push-button UI that's really easy to use. It's a great tool for starting out your contract projects, your smart contract projects. It allows you to really get up and running quickly and just very quickly and easily test and sketch out ideas. So I definitely recommend learning Remix. Next up, Truffle. Now, Truffle is a suite of products. It's a development environment for decentralized app development, and it provides a framework for easily testing and deploying smart contracts. So Truffle also comes with or includes a tool called Ganache, and Ganache is a personal blockchain for Ethereum development. It's similar to, I'd say it's similar to Remix's in-memory JavaScript blockchain. It has a UI and a command line that you can both use to stand up a quick, local blockchain to easily develop, run, and test your applications. So definitely another one that's worth looking into. Next up, Hardhat. Now, Hardhat is also a development environment for dApps, and it's very similar to Truffle. Again, it's used for testing and deployment and development. I would say, Truffle and Hardhat, I've seen them about 50-50 used across projects. I would recommend learning them both. Maybe do one of your projects with Truffle and then do the other one with Hardhat. That's kind of what I did in order to learn both of them. All right, final skill on the list, and I don't know if this is so much as a skill than something that's just a quick and easy install, and that is the MetaMask wallet. So MetaMask is an Ethereum wallet in the form of a browser extension. It's an easy one-click install, and you can check out my smart contract deployment and testing guide for instructions on how to set it up. But honestly, you could probably just Google it. It's a super intuitive and easy, one-click setup. So MetaMask is just something that you have to have as a blockchain developer, especially if you're developing for Ethereum, in order to test transactions with your smart contracts deployed to testnets or mainnet. All right, guys, so finally, I just want to talk quickly about salaries in the blockchain job industry. And this is just based on my personal experience. You may have seen something completely different, but just over the last few months, my personal experience searching for jobs, I have seen blockchain developer salaries all over the map. So I've seen, for United States-based jobs, I've seen salaries ranging from 100,000 up to 700,000. So I think realistically, if it's an entry-level job, maybe your first blockchain job, you can easily get into the 100,000s and possibly, more into the 200,000s. Anything more than that, they're probably going to want a few years more experience or a year more experience. There's a wide range of possibilities out there, and some of the salaries are just really, really good. So I think it's definitely a lucrative niche to be into. And so I think the reason behind this wide range of salaries that I'm seeing is probably due to the fact that blockchain technology is so new. And so there are just tons of startups popping up all over the place with new ideas for tokens, games, and apps. And those startups have all different levels of funding. So, I've interviewed with startups that their source of funding was, just the owner's personal savings. And then I've interviewed with startups who had multi-million dollar, venture capital backed funding rounds. So I think that is where the wide variety of salaries comes into play. But my suggestion would be, at least at the get-go, don't focus too much on salary for your first job. Just try to get anything. Anything blockchain related is a good thing, because you're going to quickly build up some experience. And then once you have probably a few months to a year experience, you're going to be able to demand a much higher salary in the market. So I think just getting that first experience and not worrying too much about the salary at the get-go is going to work in your favor in the long term. All right, guys, well, that is really all I have for this video. So I hope you enjoyed it. Hope you learned something. Hope you're excited about getting into the blockchain space. Guys, please leave your comments down below. If you have any questions or need any more advice about how to become a blockchain developer, I'm glad to help out. So yeah, so thanks a lot for watching this video. If you guys enjoyed it, please, I encourage you to subscribe to the channel, like the video if you felt like you got value out of it. Otherwise, you guys take care. Hope to see you in the next one, and have a great day. Take care now. Bye.